fast you were going?
What? How fast you were going?
I don't know. 10?
8.
Be advised, this is an explicit podcast. If you're easily offended, get your panties twisted into a knot. Leave now. Run to your safe space. Get your little cloth for your tears. All the opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and his guest and do not reflect the opinions of any local or government agency. Welcome to Motor Cop Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, the Iceman. We're going to go ahead and get the housekeeping out the way as normal. We're going to, of course, shout out to Patreons first, and because they're helping me pay my bills, which I highly appreciate. And if you want to join Patreon, just go to Patreon. There's 3 different tiers. And you can join them also. On these episodes, we just shout out the full-fledged crew members. Of course, we got our truck driving buddy, Mr. Hoppy Hopperson. We have Christopher DeMars, our good buddy. We have Z Palmer. We have Miss Lauren Stimson. We have Roy Spalding. Race car driving crew member. We have our favorite girl from down under, JoJo. We have Miss Kaylee Norris. We have Natasha A. from Washington. And we have the OG crew member, Melissa Holstein. So if you want to join up and be a crew member or a hang around or a prospect, I do put out a lot of stuff on there. I mean, several times a week. Not all episodes, but it's pictures, videos, or just random rant text I put out on there. If that's anything you'd be interested in, go check it out. Go check out the new website, www.motorcopchronicles.com. Link will be in the description below. Also, it has all the links to the other stuff, the Etsy store, everything. So if you want any merchandise, T-shirts, whatever, go check that out. That's on there also. And Christmas time's coming up. If you'd like an awesome cigar for yourself or to give as gifts, go to mypatriotcigar.com and use the promo code MotorCop15. Get 15% off. Anything over $100, you get free shipping. Premium cigars. You won't be disappointed. Go check that out and help support small business people also. Go join the Facebook private group, The Clubhouse. Clubhouse is 2 separate words. Answer 3 questions, and you get in. That's free. You can interact with some of the other members there. That's free. It's about 100 people, 101 people in there. And we're a little more risque with the memes and stuff in there. So if you something you're interested in, check that out. Other than that, we're going to jump into it. I do have a guest today. We're going to introduce. We'll let him introduce himself. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, give us your background and stuff like that, and we're going to get the ball rolling.
Heck yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Iceman. Yeah, everyone, my name is Scott Medlin. Worked in law enforcement for 15 years, and now currently I work with law enforcement as much as I can to speak and teach and write. I have a YouTube channel, the 10 Code Mindset. It's a podcast audio as well. And basically just focusing in on keeping police officers alive and thriving because, unfortunately, the threat of suicide and mental health challenges are just ever so present. And I was one of those that got into the career and, just like any other cop, was very excited. And I had a promising career ahead of me. And if someone were to tell me, oh, you won't be chief one day, I'd have told them to go get a mental evaluation because my path was clear. And basically just had some mental health challenges. Totally unexpected because never thought it would happen to me. I would always say I'm fine. Turns out I wasn't fine. And I just figured I'd open up, but also use research that I've done to help bring down these mental health statistics and inspire cops as best I can.
Well, sounds fantastic. I also subscribe to his podcast on the platforms. I've checked out a few of the YouTubes also, but he's gotten more listens to me while I'm driving back and forth to work. So, y'all go check him out on that also. He's way cleaner than me also, we'll say that, because my listeners already know that I just go off sometimes on rants, but it's good. I've enjoyed a lot of his episodes also.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk about? You want to talk about some funny stuff? You want to talk about some serious stuff? When I have guests on, I kind of let them set the tone for whatever the conversation wants to be.
Oh, I got you. Well, I don't know how much of your audience is active in law enforcement. I would just say, be honest with yourself. It's obviously a very tough time to be in law enforcement. And I remember working in the years 2014, 2016, and then how could we ever forget May of 2020 when that unfortunate incident in Minneapolis happened, and all of a sudden the cops everywhere across the country are getting completely crapped on. And it's just a level that it's a level that we never anticipated. And I'm not trying to justify what anybody does if it is out of bad intent or makes a mistake of doing, but for the rest of us who had good intentions and they're still doing great, I don't think it's right for us to have these blanketed statements put upon us, but they're there. So I just say it's all the more important reason to take care of yourself and know who you are and why you're doing what you're doing, and surround yourself with good, uplifting people and help you weather this storm we're in, because who knows how long it's going to last.
That's true. I've never, like I said, I made a little short one over for Sunday's episode, and I mentioned on how 9/11, after 9/11, you couldn't even go to a restaurant and even think about paying for your own meal.
Right.
And now you just hoping nobody spit in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess I don't know how if you have. I'm pretty much assuming that you're probably a cop like I was or still am, and I hear a lot of this stuff on the news, and that really it really makes me so mad and stuff like that. Or I see people's comments, and it's really hard. People don't realize how hard it is for me not to make comments on other comments, because I would start a shitstorm probably that you wouldn't believe. But it's I guess it's I see all these people make these comments. So these cops out here, planting evidence or setting people up, or they pulled me over for no reason, and then I'm sure that does happen and exist. It's hard for me because I've never, in almost 30 years, I've never been that cop and refused to be that cop. Absolutely, yeah. There's dignity, and you value your career and all that kind of stuff as well. I get it. That's what I'm saying. Like when this stuff all happens and these blanketed statements come out, I'm like, no, like quite the opposite. So many people I've worked with, you can't call us these names. You can't accuse us of these things. We've never even been close. We value our work. We value the career. We value doing well. Like all these good intentions, they're not a big lie. I just don't get it. And I see the comments I get on my YouTube channel. I don't reply because I've got to put my energy on helping cops. And if I'm taking time to answer the haters, who are going to be haters regardless, because deep down, I believe they're just miserable with their life, so they got to take it out on us. They still living with their parents.
Yeah, down in the basement. Yeah, keyboard warriors.
Like I said, it's hard for me. No, I'm not saying, hey, I'm far from ever being there's nobody perfect anyway. I'm far from
No, we're all going to make mistakes. We're human.
A perfect cop. Now, have I been, I haven't been a perfect cop. Have I been rude to people? Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Have I cussed at some people? On more than several occasions, yes. Like I said, have I ever arrested somebody just because they made me mad? No. I mean, you'd have to have everybody I've arrested has actually broken a law. Maybe it was a stupid little pissant law. Yeah. Am I like that now? No, that was early in my career. But I never went out and even in my young times intentionally or even tried to violate anybody's constitutional right or hurt somebody just to hurt them. You know, I've been in some hellacious battles, we'll call them, and you know, where basically, you know, it was either they were going to hurt me real bad or I was going to hurt them real bad.
Yeah.
And I've always actually, knock on wood, been lucky I've come out on top.
Well, good.
But
good.
But it's just, it's like I said, I guess, I don't know. I mean, it's really frustrating when you see all that negativity coming at the profession that, you know, I obviously love, that I've, you know, almost at 30 years in it. And it just, you know, it kind of hurts your heart and it makes you mad at the same time.
It makes you very furious, but at the same time, when you are able to take a deep breath and realize that the opinions of others do not outweigh the good deeds that you're doing and the oath you took and the person that you really are. And then what I'm trying to think of a saying, I would when I was worked as a school resource officer for a little bit, I would tell the kids, because I mean, God, I would get so mad when people would say something about them. I'd say, is someone else's opinion about is more important than you, I'm trying to remember the statement. Basically, it was like, what's more important, someone's opinion about you or what you know about you? And I think, unfortunately, we can get so distracted with the news and the haters. And I even talk about this in my course when I taught at police departments and conferences. Like, we have to limit our exposure to platforms. We have to limit our exposure to the news, because you might not think it's taking a toll on you. But if you go like 2-3 days without looking at social media or the news, you'd be surprised how much your brain feels a lot better. You really would.
So I never hear too many people say you're 100% on a dot there, right there. Is because, well, if y'all, my people listen to stuff, I do the midweek news and stuff like that. I probably spend, you know, anywhere between 10 or over 10 hours a week just reading, looking, and watching and doing all of this stuff. And every now and then I just it feels like I'm just getting burnt out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I'll take a day or two off where I try not to watch or listen to anything. It's hard for me, but yeah, it's just because it's like everything is negative.
Yeah.
Job,
and you got to consider that you're exposed to the negativity on social media and the news, which they obviously do that because our brains. What I learned after my mental health struggles was that our brains are more inclined naturally to look for the negative, all in an effort to protect us. Like, you don't have to work on being negative. Your brain will do it for you. It's all the more reason you have to work on surrounding yourself with positive people or taking care of yourself and doing positive things for yourself, because the negative can just suck you in. But we also have to be careful within the four walls of the department or the sheriff's office, where you come in a good mood, and there will be officers that pull you right down with them because they're so negative. I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means. I gripe and complain just like many other people, but at least I didn't stay there. Some just stay there and they want to bring everyone down with them. You got to be careful of that negativity and toxicity as well, because we are what our brains are exposed to. And if we're around negativity via the media and negativity at work, and then the negativity we're exposed to in the public, that's just too much if you're not actively coping with it.
Yes, you do have other cops that are, and some people out there probably just have friends that are like it. Every time you see them, they're all they do is have complaints about everything.
Yeah.
And I know a couple of people like that. I know one in particular that pops in my head. I don't like being around this person. They are constantly negative. You could go to lunch with them, and they're going to. I can guarantee you, they'll complain about something on their plate. It's like,
you could hand them $1 million. They'd be happy. It's not $2 million,
or it's not $1,000,001. I don't like. I say I got to deal with negative stuff at work because, be honest, they don't call law enforcement to calls because something good's happening.
Correct.
You don't get called to the house because little Jimmy's having a birthday party. You get called to the house because little Jimmy's having a birthday party and two of the parents got in a fist fight or something now.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't get when our radio cracks open. It's not good news.
No, it is not. And throughout my career, I would go to these things time after time, this negativity or the traumatic stuff or the dangerous moments that I survived. And I just wouldn't actively cope. I thought to myself, oh, I go to the gym, I go to church with my family, I have friends outside of the job, I'm good. But little did I know that, or little did I really put an emphasis on the fact that we as people, if we settle and we get into not necessarily routines, but if we just think we're okay and we don't, if we don't take awareness of what's going on inside of us and are not honest with ourselves, then it can lead to problems. And I'm speaking from experience on that. Basically, some of these calls, like you said, Iceman, nobody gets called because Johnny's having a birthday party at his house and they want the police there.
Yeah.
And some of these calls would go over and over and over again in my head. And I just thought, well, no big deal. I'll just work out. But little did I know it was forming post-traumatic stress, and it was forming depression, and a battle and an addiction. And I know other cops have battled the same thing. So it's really something we have to take care of and address. Like, we are human. Bottom line, we're human.
I think a lot of the problem in law enforcement is you still got that stigma. If you report it and stuff like that, are they going to pull me off the street? Are they going to take my gun away from me? Are they going? I think it's getting better, but you still got that stigma with it. So you got a lot.
I think it's getting better.
It's getting better, but you still got a lot. You got a lot of cops out there that they're going to suffer from it and not say a word, because then it depends on which department you with too. Because some of the departments will be better at it than others.
100%. And what I did was I felt that stigma. Now, I can't speak for everybody, but my story, my experience was that I got care on my own, and I never even told anyone about it. And they, through HIPAA laws and all that, my department never found out. And it was worth the investment.
Oh, yeah, well, it's a good chance if they would have, they might have, like, stuck you on a desk or something, or worse. I have a friend from a long time ago. He's still in law enforcement, but he was having some between work wise, he was having some marriage problems and all of this stuff. Well, he was having they put him on a little. He went, and at least he went and said something, right? And they put him on leave for a little bit. He was getting paid, but they were just like, go get some help. We just don't want you working right now, And do you know the whole? He was off for, I don't know, a month or so. I was the only one that reached out and actually talked to him and would, visit, because basically it was almost like he had the plague at that point.
Yeah, and that's what ticks me off, because I've heard the analogy before, and I think it's very accurate, where if someone goes to a gym and they hire a physical trainer, it's, hey, good job, that's great, man, let me know how it goes. Someone goes and gets some mental health treatment to work on that muscle in our head called the brain, and all of a sudden it's like, well, what's their problem? Let me stay away, or we can't trust that person anymore. That kind of thing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I've mentioned in some of my past episodes. Like I said, don't try to blow it up out of proportion or take it how people want to take it. Like when they say the blue family or thin blue line, that thin blue line is extremely thin. Mm-hmm. Once you, even after you can retire on good standings, or you move departments, or you do this, you do that. Then people, you still still friends with some people and stuff like that, but some people you might have thought were some really, really, really good friends, and they're just basically, you're lucky if they'll call you back when you leave a message. Yeah,
that's another thing I like to tell officers. let's be honest, some of them feel hostage to, one, the retirement package, two, the department where they are, their loyalty is the department. I'm like, well, one, you can plan for your own retirement. Like, seriously, if the job is killing you inside, it's not worth your health. You can plan for your own retirement. And I'm honest like that. And then two, the department, they will go on without you. Like the next day, someone will get issued your gear. Someone will get issued your police card. Just, they will not think twice. Like, it's a business. They will move on without you. It's not worth killing yourself over.
I've made that comment in some past episodes, because even when I was FTO and I'd tell some of these guys, they were like, oh, this and that. I'm like, let me explain something to you. I said, I've been doing this long enough. They will tell you we this big happy family, that we're this, that we're that. And at the end of the day, and I'm not bashing no departments or nothing like that. I'm just saying, because, you got some departments that care about their people more than other departments. But you have some departments that tell you, how much part of you are the family. I tell everybody, don't fall for it. You are a number. If your badge number is, let's say, 12 or 112, it don't matter. Whatever your badge number is, guess what? If you quit and walked out the door, the next day or two, somebody else is going to have that number.
Yeah.
They're not going to retire that number. They're not going to go, oh my God, Joe Bob quit. We're going to have to shut this whole department down. Let me tell you what, they're going to, it's going to be like you never existed there, and it's going to keep ticking along, and it's going to keep doing its thing. And everybody's like, oh, I just want when I retire, I want to have made a name for myself. You know what? 5 years after you retire, I don't care if you're the greatest cop that department ever saw. 5 years after you retire, you're still being mentioned every now and then. 10 years after you retire, damn near every cop on the road, except maybe a very select few, even know your name or who you were.
Yep.
Okay, so and I've said before, I've seen guys do it. They dedicate, they sacrifice family, they sacrifice time for the job. I'm like, it's a job. Do I love it? Oh yeah, I love it. I love my job. And I was one of them guys when I first started, shit, they called for something extra, I was on it.
Right.
And, it didn't matter. You need volunteers for something, I'm on. No, the job's going to be there if you're not. It's always going to be there. Don't stop sacrificing your family and your wife and your kids and your parents and grandparents.
And I made that mistake when I worked K-9. That was me. Like, I got so wrapped up in that job, people would meet me and they'd say, well, what do you do? I wouldn't say I work at such and such department and I'm assigned to the K-9 unit. I said, I am a K-9 officer. Mm-hmm. And I let the identity basically hinder me from being present to my wife and at the time, our newborn son. And my wife got to a point where she was like, it's either me or the job. And I said, oh my gosh, I've become the husband I swore I'd never be. And I became a person I didn't want to be. And I had to resign from it. And I was lost because I got so wrapped up in that job. I thought that's who I was. And it was never who I was the whole time. It was just what I did. I'm not saying that law enforcement's not a calling. It's not a passion. Of course it is. But when it comes down to it, it is a job. And that just can't be said enough. I know a lot of us are saying that now, but it can't be said enough because there's still so many cops that just get so wrapped up in it and will literally work themselves to death, offer a job that will continue, offer a department that will continue long after they're gone. I mean, just like you said, the day after.
Yeah. Like I said, I struggle. I'm coming up. I got 3 years left and I retire. Okay. Mm-hmm. And and I'm guilty of it. I don't say I'm assigned to the motor division. It's like, no, I am a motor cop. Right. I've been on a motorcycle for 20 years of my career, which they ain't a whole bunch of us out there in law enforcement that do that amount of time on bike.
Yeah, true.
I've talked about it several times on other episodes. It's like on one of them, I called the episode, How Do You Turn It Off? Because I'm talking about, the closer I get to retirement, it's like, okay, when I retire, I'm going to be a civilian again. Mm-hmm. How do I how do I be a civilian? How do you turn off being a cop? So, I mean, I don't even enjoy riding my personal motorcycle anymore, and I barely ever do because of what I do for a living. Because I'm going down the road with my wife or something on the back. We're trying to enjoy a nice spring day or whatever and go, ride somewhere and go eat. Cars are coming, I mean, I'm looking down from my radar to see how fast they're going.
Yep.
And stuff. I mean, it's like, so, I mean, so like I said, my thing is I've asked every time, how am I supposed to turn it off? I'm going to have to transition from, me being this person in law enforcement and stuff like that. And I'm trying to work on it now. It's like, I am not the badge. The badge is not me.
Oh yeah. Well put.
Stuff like that. It's like, so I'm still trying to figure out, cause I got some, I mean, it's kind of scary for me in this next 3 years of me when I do retire. Cause I do plan on retiring. I don't want to be, I've seen it too many times. These guys, they like, oh no, another year. Next thing they end down 35 years, 36 years, and they end up dying on the job of a heart attack or something. Right. I want to be able to enjoy what I worked for.
Yeah. Very true. Just speaking from the 7 months I've been out of it, I've really had to focus on things I enjoy doing and ways like communication skills. I really enjoyed on the job being able to talk to vast amount of different kinds of people and just being around people. Well, when I got out of law enforcement and I knew it was going to work better for my family with me out of it, I said, wait a minute, I'm still not done. I got to do something. So I thought, what do I like to do? Who am I? And I am someone who likes to communicate with a lot of different kinds of people. Well, I'm speaking. I'm being on podcasts. I've got my YouTube channel. I'm interviewing and I'm interacting with people in the comments section. And I'm out at these law enforcement conferences. Obviously, it's people in the same career field, but it's different people, personality-wise. So you got to really focus on who you are, what talents you have, what skills you can focus on, and what still drives you. And ultimately, what drives a lot of police officers is being of service. And there's a lot of different ways you can be of service to others. And if you're doing that, I mean, it literally scientifically releases serotonin in your brain, which releases serotonin in your body, which is a feel-good chemical that actually helps your health. I mean, that's where I learned like down to the detail of it, of being of service to others.
Yeah, like I said, I got my podcast stuff, and it's like we kind of talked about before we started recording. I'm lucky enough. My podcast right now is not a business for me, and even when I retire, if I start making enough money, whatever, it's great. But at least I'm fortunate enough I don't have to worry about it as my source of income. I got some Patreons and stuff like that, and I love them because they're helping me with my overhead costs, because it's not just free. And if you're doing it, you know, I mean, I have in the past 2.5, 3 years, I mean, I have thousands of dollars worth of equipment. I pay for different services and stuff that I use and everything else. So, but I'm lucky enough where it's not how I pay my bills. Even when I retire, I still have my 100% retirement. So I plan on keep doing it regardless, because this is kind of my outlet now.
Exactly.
And hopefully, I hope by the time I retire, I'm big enough. And I keep growing every month, a little bit here, a little bit there, do I expect to be worldwide famous one day? No, I don't expect that. If it happened, hey, great. But, cause I already joke around enough, and I mean, cause, I joke around a lot. It's like my wife tells me I'm stupid, cause like I said, we were in Walmart one time. I said, hey, come take a picture. She's like, what? I said, I found some, they got some fans in here. I want to take some picture with my fans. And I go over there, and she's like, God, you're so stupid. Because there was a big display of the box fans in Walmart. And I went and stood and put my hand on it. I said, these are my fans. So,
that is great.
I do stuff like that, I was in Home Depot, and she was like, I'm like, here, take a picture. She's like, come on, God, you so stupid. I said, no, I set it up. I said, hey, look, I met a stripper in Home Depot and took a picture of it. And it was a can of premium stripper. And it was like, I mean, this was the expensive stripper right here. So, I mean, that's just kind of who I am. And that's like, Do I want to be famous? I don't even know if I'd want to be famous. Do I like making people laugh, entertaining people? Yeah.
Well, I just read a Twitter feed, a good one, not like a waste of my time one, about Jerry Seinfeld's road to success, and he had this attitude when he first got started of not expecting anything, not really caring if something went a certain way, just putting in the time, putting in the fun, putting in the effort, like you're doing, and then look what happened to him. Now, I know that obviously that's a whole new level, but those basic concepts can apply to all of us. Just have fun with. If you're doing something that is of interest to you, you have skills in, then the phrase. I mean, does it really work?
Yeah.
No, I mean that's great. Yeah, the few episodes I listened to when you invited me on, I said, well, let me check this podcast out. My gosh, I was laughing hard.
I'll try. But I guess that's kind of my outlet, like you say, talking about the traumatic stress and stuff. I've been in some scenes and have to work stuff and have seen a lot of stuff that, like I said, people shouldn't be seeing as much as I've seen or had to deal with.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do with it? I'm lucky enough where, every now and then, my wife said I'll be talking in my sleep or something like that. It's not as bad as it used to be. She'd tell you. I have an ex-wife of mine. She woke up screaming because obviously in my sleep, I must have been arresting somebody who was resisting. And I woke up and I was on top of her and I had her in a straight arm bar pinned down on the bed screaming, "Stop resisting." And I was dead asleep.
Dang.
So, thank God I don't do that anymore, but, it's just, you don't know what your subconsciousness is going in your head when you're sleeping.
You're right. And if you don't get enough sleep, then that subconscious, our brain doesn't have, I'm no neurologist by any means. So I'm just explaining what I've learned. Like when I was researching for my first book, Mental Health Fighting the Heroes in Blue, I was learning about kind of how our brain operates innately. And it basically comes down to the things we're exposed to in law enforcement. Just like you said, Iceman, that nobody should see. Yeah, we're the ones that see it. The brain tries to make sense of it, and it plays it over and over again to try to reason with it, make sense of it, all in an effort to protect us so that the next time we encounter it, maybe we can react a little bit differently or we'll know what to expect. But basically, when those thoughts go on and on, basically your thoughts lead to your emotions, and your emotions lead to your actions, and actions lead to results. So it's very important that if the majority of your thoughts, you may not even know it, it just might be a habit to have those thoughts of the negative things you've seen go on and on and on. And I had to get treated for this, mainly for an incident in Iraq before I got into law enforcement. It can basically, you can form a personality based on traumatic events in the short of it. And my initial point was if you don't get enough sleep, your brain doesn't have time to detoxify the cynicism, the negativity, and all this kind of stuff. It's really a bad recipe for disaster if someone's not careful. And none of us are immune to it. I got treated for it, and all cops across the country, I would just encourage them, please don't ever just settle for "I'm fine," and be honest with yourself, because we, just like you said, we see things the human brain never ever wants to see.
Yeah, we see it on. And you see a lot more of it than, the regular civilian out there sees. I mean, people see car accidents. They may see somebody that got, murdered or something like that. But you don't see the amount of it.
Correct. And I think it's a civilian in their lifetime, don't quote me on these numbers exactly, but I think maybe 5 traumatic incidents. And the CDC says that 70% of adults in America will experience at least one traumatic incident, but cops throughout at least a 20-year career, oh gosh, I think the number I read was at least 300, at least traumatic incidents. So just to say that, but that brings me up, like my opinion of how can someone, like, whether it be the administration or just fellow cops, you see 300 traumatic incidents at least throughout your career. How can you be blamed for wanting to seek some mental assistance, mental health professional assistance, brain health professional assistance? How could you be judged for that? I can't stand the stigma. It's got to go.
Oh, I agree with you. But it just seems like I don't know. Sometimes I think the general public, not everybody, but I think there's a big thing. It's like we're not robots.
Right, exactly. We're human.
We're flesh and blood just like anybody else. We just chose a career that don't pay a whole lot and put you in danger and get up and you go do it. Like I said, so when you said earlier, law enforcement's a calling. Yeah, it's a calling because I don't think they may have a few, but I don't know many people that get in law enforcement because of the money.
Right. And I did know one that got into it for a job. It just looked neat. That person didn't last.
No, they won't.
Yeah.
It's just like, so if the woman that taught my academy, and I've said this before, but on first day academy, I think there was, I don't know, 70 or 80 of us in there. She said, she's like, cops are not trained. They're born. Either you're born to do this job or you're not. And, we're going to lose people during the academy. And she says probably half this class won't be here in 15 years. They've quit and moved on. She's like, I can train you and teach you and stuff like that. But she said, cops are born. You're born to do this or you're not. And it's always stuck with me.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Or we just all have mental issues and decided to do this for a living.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, when I want to put a gun on and go to work. But yeah, I mean, I've seen and had to do things and all this stuff like that. It's like, that you don't want to see. I went to college to be a mortician. I stopped doing it because where I worked at the time, I just got tired of embalming little babies. I mean,
oh yeah, wow, yeah.
So I ended up quit doing that and ended up being in law enforcement, which I mean, I love it. And my mom said she was hoping I grew out of it, but I never did, I guess. But unfortunately, I still have to deal with little dead babies.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
And other stuff. And I said that what aggravates me is I see when you see on the news, you'll see, oh look, them cops are sitting over there, joking and laughing and stuff, and they got 2 dead people laying over there. Well, yeah, because if they don't, they might be talking about the crackhead they saw down at the local Stop and Rob earlier that day. Pretty sure they're not laughing about the person laying there dead.
I know. Tell me about it. Yeah.
The problem is how do you know that's not the first dead body they've seen all day? How do you know they haven't been to several of them scenes? You see enough of this crap, not being cold, they're not being malice or nothing like that. That's just a way of almost like a coping mechanism. Because you see so much death and dismemberment and, I mean, all this stuff. Y'all just say, oh, somebody got killed in a car accident. Well, the civilian wasn't there when they pulled them out, and their leg was only hanging on by, a couple strands of meat or a tendon or something like that, and stuff like that. Y'all don't see that, so it's just
no, they don't. And I get the comments on YouTube, and they just say like, "You just sit around and write tickets. That's all you do." I'm like, wow, people. But they're. What I like to tell people, and I've been on podcasts before where I've had open conversation because they didn't exactly agree with the police, but I tell them, I say, go on a ride along if you can. Go on a dang ride along. Friday or Saturday night is better. Go on a dang ride along. Get firsthand perspective as to what goes on, and I'm sure you've seen on YouTube there was an activist who actually went to his local department and they ran him through scenarios, and he ended up using force in both scenarios, shooting unarmed people.
Yeah, I saw that one too. I think they did that. They with activists and a reporter.
Yeah, and both of them were like, "Oh my gosh!"
And they both
and their
shot.
perspective was changed forever.
They both shot a guy with a cell phone in his hand.
Yeah, I mean, and their perspective was changed forever.
Yep.
And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, more people need to go through that." So I tell people, like, go to your Citizens Police Academy or do a ride along, do something like that, because my gosh, just the people are so naive when they say stuff like, "It's just so easy to be a cop." Well, if it's so easy, why are you not doing it?
Why didn't you shoot him in the leg?
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, you know,
I was like, really?
Oh, I know.
Why didn't they shoot the gun out of his hand? Obviously, this is coming from somebody who's probably never fired a firearm in their entire life.
Yeah, but by golly, you should have shot that gun out of there.
Yeah, and be careful with them dangerous 9mm. They'll blow your lung right out your back.
Golly. Oh yeah. Oh man.
I said, when I heard that, I was like, I must be carrying. I've carried a 9mm before, and they must have redid them. And then the comment was made that, well, if you get shot with a 22, they can go in and get it out. And I'm like, obviously their writers don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'd rather get shot by that 9mm than shot by that 22.
100% any day.
Because that 20, you can get shot in the ankle with that 22, and it might come out your throat. Because 22's like, 22's like I watched a video. I remember this was probably 20 years ago. It was a training video. A state trooper, I don't remember which state it was, and you might have seen it in the training video.
South Carolina.
Yeah. He got shot with got shot with a 22, and it showed him. It went on the side of his vest or something. It showed him walking. He walked around the side of his car and just dropped dead right there. Yeah,
such a horrible video to watch. Yeah, that was Trooper Coates back in 1991. I saw that video numerous times.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that's just stuck in my head. So when certain people talk about weapons and stuff like that, or you got the people on the internet and they're like, oh, well, you could done this. Have you ever fired a gun before? And if you have you ever shot at something moving?
Well, there was that reporter maybe several years ago. Well, maybe less than 10 years ago, I think. He did shoot that AR, and it gave him post-traumatic stress disorder.
From one bullet? He shot one round?
Yeah, he wrote some article in the New York, either New York Times, New York Post, something like that. It went viral, and of course, a lot of gun operators and gun manufacturers and a bunch of content creators on YouTube that are pro Second Amendment. They were all making fun of him because he just complained about how tragic it was and how loud it was to shoot that AR-15.
I shot that one bullet that one time. Well, that's why I said I hear all this stuff on TV and all stuff when they're talking about when these people that want to take our guns and stuff away. It's like, oh, all these kids are getting hold of guns and they're doing this and they're doing that. Let me explain something to you. And I've said it before. It's all about the parenting and growing up. I've been around guns since I can remember. Hell, I got my first shotgun when I was like 8 years old.
Right.
I was taught the proper way to use guns, that guns are not toys, and this and that. You know what? I think kids that grow up, my kids when they were young, because I've been a cop, their whole life, they knew what a real gun was and that it wasn't a toy. I didn't go home and, I didn't leave it laying around, but, I had a hook and stuff in my room. And I didn't lock it in a safe and all this stuff. My kids do. They would see my gun belt and walk around it on purpose because they knew they wasn't allowed to touch it.
Right.
It's all about raising your kids correctly. It's not the gun's fault. Like I said, I can put a gun. I got a gun actually laying on my studio table right here. I don't think I had taken it out of my pocket. One of my carry-alongs, and that gun is sitting on that table. That gun can sit at that table right in that same spot for 10 years. It's not going to hurt one person.
Yep. People hurt people.
Yes. And it's just like, I don't understand them. The people hollering about guns have never shot a gun.
No, I get it.
And the big scary AR. The big scary AR.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, man, that's a whole other episode we could make on that one.
It's like, I don't know. I guess, well, you from kind of, I mean, I'm born and raised in, South Louisiana, I mean, I've been hunting and fishing and shooting stuff since I was, old enough to do it. My first little pellet gun, BB gun,
Right. Well, I was blessed to have a dad who, I think I was 10 years old. He took me out to shoot his little pocket revolver, and he said, "Come on." He said, "You got to learn the guns are not, a problem. You just have to use it correctly and all that." And then, oh gosh, my another family member of mine was an attorney, and long time ago, and I don't know how it worked back then, but he ended up getting like a bunch of weapons because of it. I don't know if like the court was like, well, evidence can be disposed of, and he said, "Hey, I'll take it." I don't know, but like a whole arsenal of shotguns and rifles, and I would go to this family member's house, and I would just see these things as a kid, and it just became normal because I was taught right that it's the person, it's not those.
Yeah.
Well, it's very important.
We're 12 years old, and me and my buddies and stuff, we go play in the woods all day, like wood. Well, we'd all grab our shotguns and stuff when we went out because, if you come across a snake or anything else, and right. Mom's like, where y'all going? We're going out in the woods to play. All right, remember that y'all don't shoot each other now. So that's the talk we got. We got 4, 10, and 20 gauges. All right, remember, don't shoot each other.
Wow.
It's like we never did shoot each other. So.
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, so it's just a whole different times, I guess. Now people are like somebody said something about one of my grandkids. "Oh, you're letting your grandson ride a bicycle with no helmet on?" Well, yeah, he looks stupid with that helmet on. Why would I put a helmet on? What happened if he falls? I said, he'll hit his head. Then we'll pick him up and put him back on the bicycle. I mean, we didn't wear helmets. We made, hell, I'm 50, almost 52. We used to ride in the back glass up against the glass in the car going down the road. I mean, I was like 12 and rode to the Mississippi in the back of a pickup truck.
Right. Yeah. I get it. Definitely different times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was, driving tractors and stuff, and we thought fun was like who could jump on the back of the bull in the pasture and hang on the longest. Hey, you see that big old hog over there? Yep. Watch this. Yep, you're going to get in trouble now. You all muddy. Mama's going to be mad.
That's hilarious.
I mean, that's just the way, that's what we did. We played outside.
Yeah.
Weekend come along, you went outside. Your mom she would holler, she'd put some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out on the picnic table to let you go eat. It was time to come home because all you'd hear, your mom would scream your name out the back door, and it's like, oh, it's time to come home. Or hell, sometimes we'd just pop a tent. We'd tell them we're going camping, and we'd be out in the woods in a tent. It's like,
that's awesome. That's awesome. My mom always said, we lived in a neighborhood, so she always said, if those street lights come on, you better be getting home very shortly after.
Oh, there was no such where I grew. I live on the property I grew up on. Now, of course, now 50 years later, I'm getting surrounded by subdivisions and all that stuff like that.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I got 5 acres. They can't get right on top of me, but I used to be able to walk outside up till 8, 9 years ago, and I could walk outside my backyard and target practice all day long because there was just hundreds of acres behind me. That was nothing but woods. Not no more. Now I walk out my back door and I see roof line.
Yeah.
It's just it's not like it used to be. But like I said, we would just go out and that's what we did. We grew up with woods and wildlife, and it's like, be careful. I mean, because we jumped a bobcat one time in the woods, and climbed up a tree. You don't want to go under that tree because they can come down and get you. So it's just like, I mean, it's just, I don't know, kids today, it's more technology, and they need to get their phones out of their faces.
Oh, no. I mean, you're right. They do. When I worked in the schools as a school resource officer, I worked at a middle school that was very busy, busier than I ever thought. I was like, my first week there, I was like, I'll never make fun of the SROs again. Oh, no. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of them got cake jobs. It's easy. But I couldn't believe how busy I was. But so I worked middle school, high school, and then an alternative school. And fortunately, at the alternative school, the kids weren't allowed to have their phones. Oh, gosh, such a blessing. But the middle school and the high school where I worked, and they were allowed to have their phones, the amount of cases I had to start investigating on with the nude pictures and all that kind of stuff, it was nauseating. And, I mean, they would just send these pictures all over, and they'd go viral around the school, and it was just they were looking at each other as objects. Not all the kids, but some of them in their minds, like viewing themselves as just objects, and then viewing others as just, I mean, the disrespect was unbelievable. And they could just share all this information with each other. And some of them would come into school like exhausted. And I'm like, why are you so tired right now? What do you have to worry about? And most of the answers were, I was up late at night. I slept in. I finally went to bed around 3 or 4. And I was like, you were on your phone, weren't you? And they say, yeah, I was on my phone. I mean, it's bad. Oh, yeah.
Well, but recently I've had to fill in for some SRO. SRO we got, is that more one of like a magnet type school, but it's kindergarten through high school.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So this school is big. I mean,
right.
When I got there, the first thing I did was I walked the interior of the school and I check all the exterior doors to make sure they're locked and not propped open.
Yep.
Well, that takes me almost an hour to walk and check all these doors. That's how big this school is. Yeah. I was just there this past Friday. I had to cover. Teacher called me, 5th grade class. 2 kids got in an argument. Little girl saying he tried to trip me, and so she turned around and punched the kid in the shoulder. Well, the boy, who's he's bigger than the teacher in the 5th grade, he's sitting there boo-hooing. At first I thought it was a girl. When I was in school, boys were not allowed to have long hair like that.
Right.
And this kid's hair was past his shoulders. I'm like, but anyway, I looked at it. I said, how old are you, boy? I forget, 12 or whatever. I said, you're too old to be. I said, get up. I said, don't make me pick you up and carry you out here. You're too big for that. Finally, I got him just to walk down there so the principal could even just discuss the situation with him. Mm-hmm. It's like, stop being a titty baby. You got hit in the shoulder by a girl.
Yeah.
But these kids, like I said, with the cell phones, I don't know why. I mean, personally, I don't see why they are allowed to bring their phones to school.
That's what I'm saying. It never made sense to me. They don't need it. No. They don't.
Nope. But like I said, this was Friday. This past Friday, so it's right before Thanksgiving break. So they're not doing nothing at the school. And it's just like, what? So it was just like parties all over the place. And it's just all these kids, they're dancing and doing this and doing that. And they're all taking pictures of each other. And with these kids, my main thing is, I'm going to ramble. We had a case recently. I didn't work it, but this little girl, I guess junior high school, took some nudie pictures of herself. Mm-hmm. And sent it to her. I think it was in high school, but then she sent them to her, what she thought was the love of her life, her boyfriend.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and I've run into that situation.
So what does boyfriend do? Being a high school kid, I'm going to show all my friends these naked pictures.
Yeah. Yeah.
This little girl, which she don't realize, because at first they were like, "Oh my God, he's doing this, doing that." I'm like, first of all, that's not the issue. The issue is this little girl sent naked pictures of herself, and she's 15 years old. So she just produced and distributed child pornography.
That's what people don't. Well, not saying like all people, but that's what's not understood. Like, I get it that the boy did wrong, but let's remember how it started, and there was a crime prior to him showing everyone else.
Then he committed the crime by receiving it and possessing the child pornography. And then all the people that he shared it with have received child pornography. So you're looking at, 30 felons. I mean, these kids just don't. Of course, mom and dad were up there, hooping and hollering because, this boy was, sending pictures of their. First of all, how did he get the naked pictures of the girl? And then it got real quiet when the parents found out. It's like, well, you do realize your daughter can be charged with child pornography. And you're like, what? Well, yeah, she took pictures, even though of herself, and sent them to somebody, and she's underage. That's production of child pornography. And they're like, the whole situation changes them when they realize that, the boy is completely wrong for doing it, but the whole situation wouldn't have started if she wouldn't have took the pictures in the first place. Exactly.
And I always hated having those conversations with parents anyway, because it was just so awkward. The daughter or the son would be right there, and there's the parents, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. Like, why? I hate that this is me.
But no, I used to pick on, SROs and call them the lollipop cops and stuff like that. And, until I recently have gotten tasked with covering a school.
Yeah.
To fill in when somebody is sick. And I kind of screwed myself in that situation. Well, they sent me over there to cover, and I had a situation with a kid, and his grandpa ended up coming over. He's got custody. Well, I don't know why he left me alone in this room while I'm waiting with this kid. Well, I'm a natural talker. Well, they come back in. The principal's never said that. By the time the grandpa got in there, I had the kid talking to the grandpa. Grandpa and kid were both crying. I had one of the principals were crying emotionally. And ever since then, every time they need fill-in, guess who they request?
You.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like, I always say, do the best job you can, and you're going to screw yourself. But no, I was.
Congratulations.
Yeah. You did such a good job now. But it's SROs. I mean, it depending on, like I said, they got some schools. I guess if you like working at elementary school, you're not going to be that bad. But some of these SROs, I wouldn't want that job full time. We got one of our high schools there. It's not this guy. They actually got two at this school, and these guys work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can be very, very busy. I was so shocked at how busy a school resource officer could be, and I can't stand it when the loud people, which are not the majority, thank goodness, but unfortunately their voice gets out more than others when they're calling for ending SROs in schools. That'd be the biggest mistake we can make.
Yeah. Well. My thing was when they call, say, all right, can you go down here? They got this kid doing this. I'm always telling myself, do not body slam the child unless it's 150% necessary. You don't want to be on video. You don't want to be one of them cops on video that's seen throwing a kid across the room.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, no, it's kind of like me. That it takes a special breed to be a SRO, especially at one of them busier schools.
Yeah, absolutely. And there were times when I had to use force on like middle schoolers, separate fights or whatever. And I hated it because I was just, they're kids. It would go from several years on patrol and dealing with adults to grabbing two kids and trying to keep them from hurting each other. And, but yet at the same time, they're trying to fight through me to get back to each other. I'm like, gosh, dang it. Now I got to actually use force on kids. It's just, can't really wrap your head around it. And that stresses you out just as much as some things on patrol would.
Because you don't want to hurt, because you don't want to hurt the kid, but you got to stop
exactly.
Except some of these kids went to a thing not too long ago talking about kids, and the kid nose got busted open and stuff like that, and he's crying like a little titty baby, and I'm like, finally, I'm off to the side. I didn't say where the kid there, and I'm like, the football. This kid played football. I look at the other guy. I'm like, why is he crying like he's a freaking titty baby? Well, this kid, I'm gonna find out, was only a sixth grader, but he was 6'3" and like 300 pounds.
Man,
in the sixth grade. I said, what? He was only like 12 or 13 years old. I was like, what? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, never mind. Now he is a titty baby. He's still but this kid was bigger than me.
That's amazing. 6'3", 300 pounds.
Yeah. He's just a beast. And it's like, but obviously he can't take a punch because I was like,
right. Yeah. Really.
You got punched one time. You're so big, you should have ate the punch and then ate the kid. I don't know. But it's like some of these kids you don't know because you hear some of these news stories. Oh, well, that's our cop did this. Well, they didn't tell you the kid was 6'3" and 300 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
All you hear is the kid was 12 years old.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's just I don't know. Just media itself. That's why a lot of time when stuff comes out, I'll see it and I'm like, I know in this type of business, you want to get your stuff out as fast as possible. But when some of these videos and stuff come out and I watch them, I'm like, I have no idea who that is. You still there? Or is it?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Send that to voicemail. I forget where my train of thought was.
Well,
the videos. Yeah, I want to do because that's what you got to do, because as soon as it's, out there. But I watch some of these videos, I'm like, yeah, it's like I can have an opinion on it, but I want to see the rest of the video because this 15-second clip they just sent me, or that's on YouTube or whatever. I'm like, well, where's the rest of it? Because this just don't make sense to me. And I don't want to go there, I can't say, or if I do talk about it, I'm like, I'm not going to have an opinion on this yet until the rest of it come out. Like, they had one in Mississippi not too long ago with a state trooper. The clip they showed on the news, man, it looked like he was just, being extremely over-aggressive with this guy on the side of the road and arresting him. Well, when the state police put out the entire, 45 minutes worth of body camera footage and you watch it, you're like, man, they need to give this dude an award. They need to give this cop an award. But if you went from what the news media showed you, you'd swear to God, they need to put him in jail.
Oh, they'll manipulate some footage. It's pretty nauseating how they'll do that.
Oh, yeah, it's way sickening. So, but anything else you want to throw out there about your stuff and everything?
I just want to let everyone and anyone know, particularly those in law enforcement, I'm here for it. I don't work in the profession anymore, but I do my best to just help any cop feel supported. I'm not like a counselor, but if you go to the 10 Code Mindset YouTube channel, if you are in a bad state in the sense that you're anxious, you're burned out, you're tired, you're fatigued, you're whatever, if something's just not working out and you need to rejuvenate or just get some inspiration or just to learn more about the profession or how you can grow as a person, because I've had to grow as a person to come out of my setbacks that I had in life due to the mental health issues I went through. I'm here for you. So go to the 10 Code Mindset or my website, vscottmedlin.com. And I look forward to the day where I'll be speaking at a department and they'll say, hey, I heard you on the Motor Cop Chronicles podcast.
I'd like that too. And I'm gonna,
yeah, of course.
I'm gonna put his info down in the description stuff when this episode will be come out. This is coming up Sunday night about 8:00. When I usually put them out. So if you want to tell any of your people about it or anything like that. Other than that, everybody, stay safe out there. Watch your backs. Always say tell the truth. It's, the only thing you have your word, and don't be a sheepdog and be the lion. Until next episode, y'all stay safe.